this video is intended to describe a rather exotic high-yield frequency based on a lightblade wand platform named Celestial Sovereign. Joining me today in my incomprehensive tour will be my whimsical stick figure chakra map for visual guide reference, as well as this leather which will eventually be installed after this is fully notarized, and what can be jokingly termed as the hood scoops that serve as the auxiliary energy power packs that will be installed on top of the white leather hood, which will all be notarized in turn. I will be discussing the primary blade band scaffolding seen right here as a first foundational preface of the entire vibratory concept of this closed-loop reactive circuit device, which, of course, vaguely resembles a figure 8 to indeed recycle perpetual energetic momentum in a closed-loop contained circuit. Starting off with the transmutation ratio, which is seen right here and laterally, as well as underneath this lovely leather, there is a handband of the exact ignition sequence of hematite and smoky quartz running like so, as well as the other side to this lateral band right here, as well as this entire blade band section right here. So in the composition right here is a combination of hematite and smoky quartz, as well as, for this variety, iron pyrite. So hematite is a fantastic rounder of all energy through the root chakra into the earth for reprocessing and taking all stray radial energies and grounding them very successfully. In tandem with smoky quartz, which has the same stimulation pathway configuration emanation, basically same effects if you would, to ground all the excess energy into the root chakra, into the earth stars, into the earth for reprocessing. And then, of course, the iron pyrite is a more exotic variety of this trinity of this ignition sequence. Iron pyrite is a more yang, opposed to the androgynous nature of hematite, masculine polarity, solar plexus stimulant of directing frequency into form. So, for this extremely high-yield broadcast device, the pyrite is employed to be a more of a directional metal-based current to direct currents into projection of reality of the 3D realm, if you would. Same exact ignition sequence right here, containing here, as well as once again laterally and under the handbands. And so why I discuss that first things first is that the idea of having the excess grounding purification of this entire blade scaffolding to govern the excess current indeed will be a strong encouraging grounding of this energy for the tangibility of the dramatic vibratory engineering that is before me, which will of course make more sense as I discuss the primary blade band sequence that indeed is the governance of the energy that indeed would qualify it to honor the archetypal name of Celestial Sovereign. So this blade banding is quite exotic in nature with a very high vibratory threshold yield. Starting off with clear quartz to be a neutral subcapacitation agent to energize into golden rutilated quartz to further intensify the octave yield. Then going into the lovely, legendary, and quite amazing magical stone, Libyan gold tektite in bead format, which is the heavy dose of that same frequency is the entirety of the blade face on both sides. So Libyan gold tektite is a quintessential, very powerful fire elemental frequency utilized by the Egyptian Magi caste of old. This also makes this a rather exotic construct because it's a very precious stone, particularly to be found in bead format, to be utilized in a light blade circuit. So Libyan gold tektite is a very powerful sacrum and solar plexus stimulant, which makes it a cardinal fire energy stimulant, yet also has full storm overtones, which is quite powerful in the entirety of the golden ray luminous energy stimulation, which in my opinion perhaps has the most powerful yield of the golden ray emanation in the mineral kingdom just about, based on its intensive celestial nature, which can be associated with almost phoenix energy. Then, going into golden healer quartz to be a impeccable gold white light Christ source frequency emanation alignment, that would be the entire blade band, of course repeating an ignition sequence to close the circuit to the transmutation blade band to once again bring all the excess high yield frequency into a grounded parameter to purify and insulate and ground the excess energy and arc it, most importantly, into the earth to, God willing, make the tangible excessive high yield of this device actually practical in aspects of magic. So right here, continuing on with the blade band scaffolding, we'll be discussing the abundance ratio, which is found here on brass as well as here on silver, which is exactly the same ignition sequence on two different metals for an output intake yang and yin polarity, if you would. At the time of this video, there are 19 concentrated constructs of this ratio of the abundance platform in wands, staves, stationary mounts, you name it. There's 19 of them currently. And this is the abundance ratio employed in all the 19 constructs in distribution. Clear quartz, green emerald, the quintessential green ray stone of abundance of royal notoriety, rutilated quartz to intensify the acceleration into peridot, a fantastic third and fourth chakra stimulant of growth and expansion, cyclating to clear quartz to emerald to golden healer quartz once again, to be another dose of that gold white light source emanation, which is of course of the essence or metaphysical aspects. To actually tap into currents of source is quite advantageous for sorcery. So that continues like so, running laterally as a diffuser of the current in the abundance ratio, seen here as well as here, in exactly the same ignition order on, once again, the brass and the silver polarity. So that'd be the primary blade band scaffolding discussed thus far. Then I'll be tackling the immense engine section, which is quite stacked, hence it's a, to make a joking analogy, a very serious race car variant of a typical lightblade wand, as a pretty intensive prototype of high performance yield vibratory concentration, if just to throw that out there, which will take a while for this entire section. So this right here, starting off with Dawa, the great Sundancer Kachina archetype that is quite famous, and this actually is a Zuni rendition from the tribes of the Southwest, which is consisting of abalone, jet, turquoise, and coral, which are the sacred four minerals, and of course abalone being a crystalline ally, not quite though, because of course it's organic, to be a quintessential utilization of the four directions for that purpose. In a loose term, so I'll go ahead and I will discuss also the main heart of the entire construct is a lovely golden Lemurian quartz, which of course, obviously gold ray emanation is the primary theme of this device. So that would be the golden heart of the entire construct, which works as the neutral programmable carrier, or basically the way to have resonance with the structure of the device for consciousness-assisted technology to actually put impulsive energy through it for intentional broadcast. Then right here will be the amazing Prophecy Stone, as well as found at the very other end of the apex of this blade band too, is Prophecy Stone as well. Prophecy Stone is quite the fantastic space metal that is quite the quandary for modern science, because apparently it has elements that are not native to our periodic table. But why that's important, and the name Prophecy Stone came from a man who found this, who had a massive unexpected prophetic vision. That's where the name came from. But the aspect too of having a metal base with high frequency stimulation indeed is to ground all this excess energy, most importantly through the Earth stars into the Earth, for the tangible range of grounding this excess of high yield into, of course, the Earth plane, which was what make magic real. I would say that at least thrice more times, because that is indeed the high prerogative of this construct. Right here is a lovely piece of chaurite, a fantastic 6/7, of course, violet ray stimulate, that also makes for a very powerful grounding of high frequency energy, which can be considered a purple ray wind elemental dharmic stimulant, or dharmic accelerant for that matter. Then, of course, there'll be Sedona Red Rock, from my favorite vortice in the entire area, found here and here. So for this section, also, there'll be doubles of many of these frequencies, which I'll be notarizing as linear and coherent as possible when one is mentioned to cover all the octaves to, of course, be streamlined and coherent. So Sedona Red Rock, of course, has a high iron-based matrix, which is very encouraging for grounding all excess energy. Then fulgurite is found here, here, here. Even this right here is fulgurite. Make sure there's no other pieces hiding. Yep, there is. fulgurite right here. So all those pieces mentioned right now, staggered throughout the entirety of the engine section, are the force of petrified lightning literally striking sand, carrying that energy into form, which was well utilized by First Nation medicine men, or medicine women of course, to intensify their prayers back to spirit. By carrying the excess energy of lightning, it is very stimulating to the entire light body from top to bottom in a very dynamic, intensive lightning force way, because it literally is lightning striking sand carrying that frequency. So in this aspect as well, it also makes for a great manifestation intensification based on its classic shamanic utilization in endeavors of medicine or magic. Then right here is cinnabar, which is of course actually found right here on this entire figure 8 blade band section around the phoenix and the dragon, which will have its own discussion later. So of course, I will save that for this entirety, but make reference as a great stone of magic and a very powerful base and sacrum stimulant, and a mercury-based concept. It's very powerful for the aspects of deep theurgy. Then right here, next to the fulgurite, would be the famous Percelli bluestone. And the reason it's famous because this actually is exact stone hewn to make the monolithic structure of Stonehenge in the British Isles. And so it has a great aspect of being a very powerful dimensional gateway grounder as well. And just to be pragmatic and face the facts, this is 400 miles away from the site of Stonehenge where this was quarried. That's exactly the same stone used. And back in that time period, moving several ton blocks 400 miles away probably was worth the endeavor for a particularly good reason. Just throwing it out there for common sense, despite me talking about very metaphysical far out things. Good reason why they used that. Moving on. This be morganite. Morganite is a pink ray cousin to emerald, has a fantastic, strong emanation of the pink ray of divine love capacity. Right here is heliodor. Heliodor actually is another cousin in the beryl family to emerald once again, as a very intensive, dramatic, golden ray solar plexus stimulant that's very complementary to this entire construct's intended designation. As well as seraphinite found right here, as well as a smaller piece deeply concealed at this point next to the main heart of the construct. Seraphinite is a fantastic seraphic full light body activator that works very quickly to dismantle any patterns of dis-ease in any capacity. This right here is the classic amazing turquoise, which is a world famous favorite stone of millions for thousands of years for a good reason, with the aspect of being an impeccable fifth chakra stimulant of the elements of earth, fire, water, and wind through a wholeness focus of the fifth chakra. Then, moving on to infinitite right here, this is a special variety of serpentine that is much like a vibrational cousin to seraphinite. That's a very powerful full light body kundalini stimulant, as well as being a very powerful decrystallizer of stagnant patterns that impede a natural healthy light body flow, as well as a fantastic way to also insulate the auric field from defrazzling of stray radial energies. Then right here is oceanic calcite, which is actually white calcite, which is by itself a fantastic clear of the entire energy body from stagnant patterns in the fire elemental correspondence, as well as this particular specimen has been tumbled by the ocean for hundreds or thousands of years. God literally knows the truth of that, but the big purpose of that, though, is that the indelible clearing mark of the ocean is well encapsulated in this fantastic ocean-polished calcite I harvested myself. I was very excited when I found this big cache, obviously. It was a rockhound enthusiast's windfall. Okay, let's see here. And then right here, this is golden healer quartz carved like an angel. Just like the primary blade band as well as the end of the barrel focalizer, golden healer quartz plays a critical role for obtaining the right resonant frequency connection to the gold white light source crystalline Christ frequency emanation connection to source creation, with a heavier dose right here by the main engine to be a stronger homage of the source enlightenment emanation, which I find to be obviously metaphysically irreplaceable. Then right here is another piece of root-talated quartz, like mentioned in the blade band, to be a massive accelerant of the entire engine bay, if you would, like a supercharger or turbocharger bolted to this entire structure to dramatically intensify the closed-loop reactive yield. It's particularly in conjunction with the main heart of the construct, right here, rutilated quartz, a very fantastic frequency accelerant. Then, right here will be star argonite, which is considered to be one of the greatest master healers in the mineral kingdom, much like seraphinite previously mentioned. Star argonite is a full, fantastic light body stimulant that clears any patterns that be impeding the proper energetic idyllic flow from the Earth star to the Soul star simultaneously. So that's one of those great master healers I employ pretty religiously. Then right here will be black tektite. Black tektite is a product of nuclei meteorite impacting sand, carrying that extraterrestrial cosmic jolt into reality, being a very powerful grounded vibrational induction frequency from, thank goodness, the ground up to bring the vibrational threshold from the Earth up for the auric field's benefit. Then there's the other Sedona rock I mentioned, of course. So I'll mention these guys before I go further. Right here is smoky celestial quartz, as well as right here. For such an ambitious construct, 2 smoky celestial quartz were employed for a very distinct purpose. So like mentioned with the transmutation blade band ratio, smoky quartz, smoky celestial that is, has a strong grounding of negativity by grounding all excess energy for energetic dialysis reprocessing. But the celestial format makes a very special resonance with the auric field that can work like an autoregulator dimmer switch based on the higher self template that indeed, applied in a circuit, can make a perfected autoregulation of whoever is wielding it to regulate the frequency pitch in alignment with the conscious self-wielder's highest template, and very most importantly, auto-regulated, equilibrium-inducing, comfortable manner that basically works to prevent energetic surge fryouts. So it can be also deduced to be a quintessential energetic reactive surge protector as well, which will come in very handy for this extremely high yield device before me. And this next section, I describe in one shot intentionally because the criticality it plays in the aspects of its function right here with the jaspers and agates. So jasper and agates are the most stable vibrations in the mineral kingdom based on the color resonance as well as the elemental composition. Starting off with red jasper to be a impeccable stabilizer of the root chakra, earth frequency. Then fire agate to be the fire energy stimulant of stabilizing the root, the sacrum, and the solar plexus. Then the water frequency of moss green agate to stabilize the heart chakra. Then the aspect of water, once again, blue lace agate right here to stabilize the 5th chakra. Then holly blue agate, a very special variety of purple agate that stabilizes the 6th and 7th wind chakras. So, when you take the aspect of earth, fire, water, and wind in the most stabilized format possible as part of an energetic subroutine of a highly complexive reactive energy device, it brings the continuity of earth, fire, water, and wind in balance in the most stable formats, which could be another nice layer of full elemental, terrestrial elemental balance in that regard. Let's see. By golly, that actually is the entirety of the engine. I must confess, when I first started this endeavor, I thought this would take much longer to describe the complexities, but I guess I must be on turbo mode from the influence of this extremely high-yield construct, which, as a disclaimer to break character for a moment, obviously is quite vivid and very empowering and very visceral, so that's why I'm probably moving so quickly. And of course, I actually have much more to cover concerning, once I get past this leather up here, this is quite the complex subroutine up here. But before I move on though, to keep things linear as absolutely possible, once this video is concluded and all these components are fully notarized in this video, this white leather hood will be installed like so, wrapped to a very aesthetic appropriate nature, but it definitely is far more than an aesthetic completion right here. To kind of give a rough example, vaguely what it will look like for dissertation's sake. Much something like that. So the white leather actually serves much more than an aesthetic role here, as it is indeed a white ray emanation. So the main heart of the construct will have a nice full white ray color emanation color therapy diffuser. And also, B, It will work to insulate this excess frequency to basically prevent excessive energy leaks, to condense the focus through the exposed blade band for the entirety of the process, as well as C, be a way to protect all these subtle stones terminated in this entire sequence of the engine band. And in D, it also will serve as an aesthetic completion as well. But indeed is there for much more than just looks. As well as once this is fully notarized too, and this leather is installed, you also have these prominent badgings installed, like so, grounded to the wires to be its own circular subroutine. And this is a good story, of course. Getting pretty hopped up with this thing, obviously. So this is a fantastic coin commissioned by the dear wizard Stephen Ross of Sedona, who I've had the privilege of augmenting many of these constructs at this point. And this is another foray into another rather exotic expansion of this love currency morphic field. Starting off with what I consider to be the miracle ratio based on the full chakra column stimulation and unified field emanation with hematite and quartz to ground out the overture. Starting off with ruby to be the root chakra stimulant, carnelian for the sacrum, tiger's eye for the solar plexus, peridot for third and fourth chakras, emerald for the fourth chakra, aquamarine for the fourth and fifth chakra, blue sapphire for the fifth and sixth, then lapis for fifth and sixth, then amethyst, then clear quartz, into hematite to complete the succession. So the big aspect why that's called the miracle ratio is the full unified stimulated light body column and one unified ignition sequence would in theory put one in the realm of being in miracle resonance of their ideal template, so to speak. Then having the overture of the hematite part of this circular subroutine is to ground out all the excess energy, which is another layer of grounding for this extremely exotic high-yield construct. Certainly helps. Particularly in the practicality aspect of bringing the full electromagnetic range of the ideal chakra column in crystalline format to a further grounded into tangibly overture, definitely is quite of the essence for tangible assistance of magic, I guess. So, and then the other side, once the white leather is installed, we'll have this rather interesting badging right here, where I actually took a dragon and a phoenix and ran a figure 8 wire, which of course has implications to infinity, aspects like that, with both the dragon and the phoenix in the heart of the devices. So naturally, the phoenix can be the quintessential spirit animal of the alchemical endeavor, if you would. Hence, that aspect is right there, well represented. As well as, I do love dragons quite desperately, which I will admit because I have much more to cover, and that guy is there. As well as clear quartz and cinnabar for this entire figure 8 recirculated blade band. Cinnabar is the quintessential stone of intensive magical alchemy, in my humble opinion, and is quite intensive for its sacrum, solar plexus, as well as base chakra and third eye stimulation to, of course, be in touch with the flows of source emanations, which I may just omit right now to give more consolidated and condense the rest of the video. But long story short, this frequency is a very powerful alchemical accelerant to burn off the gross imperfections that impede one's conscious self from being aligned with their absolute oversoul, highest self, consciously in 3D realm in their avatar, essentially. And all the magic that goes with that of cities and psychic capacities, aspects like that. Okay, moving on. So this aspect will be quite exotic in nature to discuss concerning the primary thumb engagement. So this right here is designed to actually, of course, engage the thumb. As well as down here, this could be almost considered to be a trigger to be engaged simultaneously, like so, for the vibratory ignition sequence of the designed intention right here, which is actually rather exotic. Starting off with the foundation of the entire thumb engagement would be Faden quartz, which is a fantastic variety of quartz that literally lives its life cycle breaking and restitching, which mimics a vibrational pattern of fixing breaks through the field. So it can be almost considered as a rudimentary analogy vibrational fix-a-flat. Any weak point in the auric field from top to bottom, Faden quartz works very quickly to fix and stitch the break, so it works like almost like bandages or fix-a-flat to complete the continuity to the iDelc template. Hence, it makes the perfect programmable platform for such an exotic yield frequency. Starting off with yellow sapphire, a quintessential Hindi utilized solar plexus stimulant of great notoriety, and not to mention, of course, sapphires and rubies are great stones of opulence and notoriety, but the yellow variety has a very, very intensive manifestation, intention, energizing capacity that is quite well employed in this aggressively yellow ray construct. Next to that would be golden topaz. Golden topaz, another precious stone of antiquity, is a very powerful third and actually fourth frequency stimulant, carrying that of the gold and ray emanation as well as the pink ray, which would be a nice segue compatibility to the source energy, as well as a dramatic intensifier of focus manifestation as well. Then right here will be the legendary lovely moldavite, also found over here. Yes, indeed, this large piece down here is actually one lovely showcase grade A specimen of moldavite down here for the trigger. So I'll be describing them both at the same time then. This is the quintessential dharmic accelerant, nearly unrivaled mineral kingdom, to have such a powerful green ray heart chakra stimulation connection to emanations of creation that it can be considered rather volatile and intense in its application, the way it administers its service to the recipient. Hence, it's got a bad rap off social media platforms like TikTok, things of that nature, because it is so dramatically powerful for intensely changing one's configuration to their dharmic template. And with no holds bar and quite swift, with no consideration just about by itself. But a long story short about moldavite 2 is that with the subroutine of this entire complex device to have many buffers and regulations and diffusers is to get the most out of that cosmic acceleration while mitigating the timeline whiplash. Anyhow, that's enough about that. But yes, a great stone of synchronicity, magic, and higher spiritual continuity. Then next to that piece right here would be the lovely legendary phenakite. Phenakite is a very intensely powerful store momental third eye activator that is what I consider to be perhaps one of the top 3 third eye busters in the Mineral Kingdom that is very dramatically intense for stimulating the entire higher chakra column. And also in that regard, phenakite has a very special role for actually broadening the entire chakra column to a high yield capacity, which is very amazing as a unified divine light manifestation of the crystalline realm. To really take the entire chakra column and broaden it to a high light body configuration is phenakite's great gift, besides the massive third eye activations it provides. So that's the aspect why that's there. Then encircling the moldavite and the phenakite is faceted clear quartz as well as authentic raw white diamond, to be the 10 out of 10 hardness, frequency of great precious notoriety, frequency of kings and queens, for that matter, as well as the truest precious stone known to humanity for this purpose. So having that 10 out of 10 hardness white ray emanation also brings an invincibility strengthening energy to the field that is very, of course, opulent in this opulent construct. Hence, it's a high yield, highly exotic closed loop circuit reactor of great vibratory threshold potential, to put it lightly. So, then the blade band seen right here, designed to take the excess overture of this energy and recirculate it through further royal octaves, would be red ruby, the quintessential root chakra stimulant of great royal notarization, with clear quartz to be a neutral subcapacitation, going into blue sapphire to be the royal 5th and 6th chakra stimulation activation of great royal notoriety, of great wisdom. So that brings a very intensive high yield of the royal spectrums, particularly the heavy dose right here of the yellow being almost a primary color induction of the red, yellow, and blue in the hardest formats in the color range spectrum, besides diamond, of course, being 8.5 oftentimes or 9 out of hardness. So they all carry a very dense atomical rate. Okay, so down here, like mentioned, the smaller piece of moldavite should summarize, but this is a ginormous, beautiful showcase variety of moldavite seen right here that indeed can work as almost an index finger trigger. with lapis lazuli and clear quartz around the entire containment to be the perimeter of the construct, which is very advantageous for bringing a higher 5th and 6th stimulation of wind elemental correspondence to, of course, how this in frequency endeavor have a very powerful induction of keeping one's highest truth and sovereign truth into perspective of the whole aspect of being in flow with one's highest truth connection to creation, essentially. Then to further intensify that entire power pack of this dramatic moldavite, as well as zircon. Zircon's a very powerful ambient accelerant of other frequencies, much like rutilated quartz, yet zircon by itself also carries a very intense, vivid, simultaneous stimulation of the entire chakra column from the Earth star. Everything in between is highly stimulated in unified field format with the Soul Star. So that is a true, powerful, light body stimulant that, of course, has been terminated to this guy, which makes the moldavite even more powerful by dramatic, exaggerated overture. I just laugh because moldavite should not need much more power, but hey, this is an exotic race car variety of a lightblade wand, which is the preface to my life's work, so there we have it. Okay, so that'd be the thumb engagement, and what technically I guess can be considered the trigger, if you would, describing great notoriety. So where the moldavite trigger is also Heliodor, like mentioned down the engine, a golden ray cousin to emerald that has a very powerful solar plexus chakra stimulant. Then right here is the dynamic explosive zincite in golden ray format. Zincite is a rather volatile crystal I utilize very sparingly because the effects are so potent and intense of basically hurricane explosive force of the root, sacrum, and solar plexus, the quintessential lower 3 chakra blaster, if you would, of great intensive fire notoriety that is very, very powerful. Obviously high in zinc, which is the elemental metal of fire. And so there it is, a little zincite, a little cosmic force of zincite blasting through the entire chakra column, particularly lower 3. It's very intense, vivid stuff. Then, to be the perfect antithesis to the zincite would be the lovely blue tanzanite. Tanzanite actually is an impeccable 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th chakra stimulant, which I would consider to be the most impeccable heart-mind coherence bridger in the mineral kingdom by that unified stimulation, and is also a great stone of elegance when employed correctly, and impeccability of the word from the aspects of all the heart-centered convictions of the recipient, as well as all the aspects the mind can conjecture in a unified field. So this is a great, great, great frequency for counselors and people of that nature that really work a lot with speaking in impeccable manners, particularly interpreting psychic information to a coherent fashion. Anyhow, moving on. And to be a complementary same circuit, if that frequency is blue-white hemimorphite, which of course carries the same pathway of 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th chakra stimulation, which is also a great higher chakra stimulant, which works as a great other frequency complementary contingency to, once again, the explosive volatile zincite, which I respect very greatly, but do not use very heavily for good reason, because it's rather volatile, intensive stuff. So right here, behind the selenite seen right here, is actually 2 black Tibetan quartz, which I consider one of the quintessential master healers I utilize quite often. Tibetan black quartz is a very fantastic full light body stimulant that dramatically opens the entire higher chakra column, as well as dramatically purifies and grounds the expanded root chakra, as well as Earth Star's grounding cord into Mother Earth. So it is a tremendous stone of Father Sky and Mother Earth simultaneously from Tibet, a region in the world with unbroken lineage of spiritual discipline, virtually unrivaled anywhere else in the globe, still to this day with high ohm resonance. So it also makes it a lovely ohm source resonant frequency alignment as well. Okay, so this next shot, I'll be describing the blade facing going up to here. So this right here would be Himalayan golden azeztulite, which is a very lovely stone from the Himalayas of the golden ray that has a lovely, just like Tibetan black quartz, incredible source golden white light source emanation alignment that also has a nice stimulation of the solar plexus. So the aspect of the two merging into one is highlighted with this frequency that's quite fantastic to be a lovely way to kindle the aspects of the great central sun of creation through the respiration with the heart physically and non-physically merging into the transition of the energy of the golden white light emanation of source creation, which is pretty neat. Then right here, and of course when I mention one side, the other side is symmetrically as identical as possible for maximum continuity efficiency, basically. So this right here would be sunstone, a lovely feldspar sunny frequency, a great stimulant of the solar plexus and the sacrum, a great fire energy ally, as well as a very beneficent masculine tone frequency that is very joyful and very sunny in its positions of anti-depression, things of that nature. It also is great, of course, zest for life, feel good gusto frequency right there. And to complement that as well would be amber. Though not technically a mineral, it's also been a classic metaphysically utilized crystalline ally that is quite effective for being a lovely purifier of negativity into positivity or a transmutation agent through a much more sunny solar plexus filter disposition. Then next to that right here on both sides would be the lovely, beautiful variety of purple sugilite. Sugilite is an incredible 6/7 non-physical chakra stimulant that is great purple ray frequency that is quite rare these days, but luckily the will of the force has its ways of providing me exotic components for various projects. And so sugilite also is a very powerful transmutation by higher divine frequency alignment, as well as being a very powerful bubble of light energized around the entire auric field, which is very good for extremely psychic sensitive individuals who suffer from bombardment frequencies of the divisitory nature of 3D world, which is called being a human. Quite simply. So that's also another layer right there, which also makes a lovely natural frequency ping, if you would, to the force of Michael the Archangel, or the Michael force, the great seraphim close to source. So it also has a lovely Michael frequency emanation, which is nice to have a natural analog attunement to, obviously. Then, like mentioned about 37 minutes ago at the beginning of this video, is the Libyan gold tektite in a very high intensive focus, being 4 on 4 would be 8 on the entire blade face for obvious reasons. And once again, that is the quintessential powerful golden ray frequency that scientific jury is still out about its origin, so they call it desert glass as well, but with Prophecy Stone being a space metal, when it found next to this, it makes the compelling evidence to say that this is the mother rock of this. So, but that's the aspect also, is bringing extremely high focus solar plexus activation Libyan gold tektite for a very intensive manifestation gold ray threshold that was literally used by the Magi God King of old, the cast of the Pharaohs, which is pretty neat, at least in my humble opinion, as a evidently obsessed crystalline rockhound, if no one could tell by now. So at the very apex of the selenite right here would also be Herkimer diamonds next to the Prophecy Stone. Herkimer diamonds are very powerful, high frequency quartz spectrum candidates from Herkimer, New York, that are also make for a massive acceleration intensification of other frequencies around it, so it can work as another accelerant to other frequencies. And Herkimer diamonds have a lovely 6/7 higher spectrum quartz emanation that is very divine for aligning divine realms. So naturally, that's right there for a good purpose, to be the very apex of the focus recirculating to intensify the Prophecy Stone even further. By golly, I'm making fantastic time, beyond my wildest expectations nearly. Anyhow, it must be all the gold ray hopped up expedite energy. So, the next aspect I'll discuss before I go further is the wooden core. Actually is cedar wood from my tree buddy right there in my front yard right there, which is very special to me. As well as the wood from down here. This is 2 different cores screwed together as a secondary core that holds the engine in place. It is actually wood from Sedona, Arizona, from my favorite juniper tree, from my favorite vortice between Bell Rock and Courthouse Mesa. I have one really good tree buddy out there, and that's where the core of this guy came from. So it has a nice little melding of the Mount Shasta and the Sedona bandwidths of wood in one construct, which theoretically could be pretty concentrated and advantageous in spiritual potential as a platform. Then next, I will be discussing the selenites and the kyanites, which I oftentimes do indeed save for last very intentionally. So selenite by itself, I would consider a tremendously fantastic master healer for the aspect of it being a tremendously effective 6th, 7th, 8th, all the non-physical chakras back to one's godhead, alignment to basically work to burn off debris of that higher frequency connection to the one source godhead, which is by itself a really cool thing, obviously, into the conscious self-perception. Then with that high-frequency induction of that alignment of source energy, works to be a fantastic way to burn off stagnant energies that be affecting the auric field emanations that, of course, would bog down the systems that can manifest as a dis-ease. But where it truly shines in any given spirit tool is the capacity, particularly in a circuit much like this, as it runs a current sequence, it recirculates, to purify all these crystals I've been ranting about for 41 minutes now. It can amplify all of these crystals, and perhaps most importantly, harmonize it and bring equilibrium to the entire crystalline structure seen right here. So the aspect of purification, amplification, intensification, then the harmonization of that always works as the grounds of a triumphant spirit tool, a triumphant trio, trifecta of any given spirit tool, particularly for such a high yield diverse construct. So that is my big selenite dissertation for this entire construct. Then I'll be moving on to the kyanites, then a very intensive exotic focalizer section, then nearly this video is surprisingly getting pretty wrapped up here. Okay, so the aspect of the black kyanites. So before I discuss the kyanites, I must, after 42 minutes of metaphysical excessive ranting, give a disclaimer that keeping the concept of kyanite very linear and rational to be comprehensible is quite the challenge based on its metaphysical implications or the ramifications, what theoretical concepts of magic will be discussed here, just as a preface, to be a disclaimer. But I'll keep it simple as possible. So the aspect of kyanites also serve to be the most rapid transfers of energy through the mineral kingdom, particularly based on their different resonating spectrum designation colors. So black kyanite is the most rapid bridger of energy through the root into the earth stars, into the earth for reprocessing, which can serve as a tremendous auto-regulation surge protector to ensure the entire frequency pitch is always grounding at a very rapid rate. Then orange kyanite is a very, very powerful sacrum transferable chakra stimulant that really charges the sacrum to a very high capacity in alignment to one's dharmic self, as well as green kyanite being a very powerful heart bridger of rapid transfer to Father Sky, Mother Earth simultaneously, as well as other people and the impeccable format, as well as blue kyanite being a very powerful third eye stimulant that works very quickly to bridge, stitch, and pathways of the right and left hemispheres, which would of course be the cross interference that would be impeding the awakened third eye in theory, just saying a little dissertation. So when you take the four spectrums of kyanite, and so this is where it gets a little meta. The four spectrums of kyanite will make a very rapid transfer calibration of one's ideal template in real time, as well as serve as another layer of etheric Teflon to diffuse and regulate buffering the current to the ideal configuration of one's highest self, fully realized in the physical conscious self avatar. So the energy will also reroute, buffer, and ground and circulate so quickly that it'd be very difficult for lower frequencies to resonate with that field pitch, particularly when it comes to divisitory external forces from the auric field, if you would. It's very meta. And that's a big aspect too. Then the aspect why kyanite's so important too with the focalizers is to bring the energy of this entire closed loop figure eight structure and also bring a transferly bridge of the concept. Just like my tree buddy outside, to ground the emanations to make the transferability of this actually indeed a vibratory output. So then the aspect right there is, of course, just rapidly bridging energies that would be very conducive to rapid acceleration of magic, or basically a way to have quantum shifts to alternate timelines of highest miracle configuration, manifest intangibility. Okay, that got pretty meta, but I think I did kind of okay pleasing myself. Okay, so the last, but definitely not least, is this very exotic connection of focalizer crystals to work as a focus of this excess energy grounded to the primary wire. So basically, all these frequencies mentioned thus far in this entire rant are somehow, some way, of course, grounded to this primary wire consisting of copper, brass, and silver to be the main vein of the construct to recirculate the energy before, of course, it has the overture of the smooth outer band recirculation. So, by taking this entire section of quartz points of varieties seen right here and grounding to the primary is designed indeed to bring an excessive focus of this energy for broadcasting directional purposes, which is grounded into the structure which I mentioned 5 times now, is a big closed loop reactive figure 8 structure. So, the aspect starting off back here, oh, and a very fun fact as well, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different points for the focalizers, which is a number of divine perfection, divine balance, and divine order, which is of the essence to honor some kind of governance of divinity, to be a divine intervention. As a joke, obviously. I do like my jokes quite a bit to break up the monotony. So, right here, titanium aura quartz is actually pressure-coated titanium I've been utilizing for many years. First invented in the 80s, or I consider it more appropriately to be a man-made alchemical element this day and age, which is very powerful for taking titanium on a quartz structure and producing a very powerful, vivid light body stimulation from top to bottom, which is a full rainbow light body generator, as well as a massive insulator of energy, which would be very difficult for other weaker frequencies to shift one's impeccable field. It also makes for great focus of another energy, particularly when it comes to clear quartz, seen right here. So like the engine down here, clear quartz is a great way to have a neutral amplification based on the intent of the consciousness of the wielder, which of course is designed to be consciousness-assisted technology, to be a neutral resonant to resonate with the impulses of magic of the wielder, if you would. So that'd be actually Lemurian quartz, and this is actually clear quartz normal. The Lemurian quartz has a nice little variety that I like quite a bit, obviously. As well as tangerine quartz, which is a lovely sacrum stimulant, which of course brings another like fiery orange enthusiastic yield down range before it terminates at the very crosshairs, or end of the barrel, if you would, of these lovely natural golden healer specimens. Golden healer, mentioned at least thrice so far in this dissertation, is a fantastic gold white light source alignment emanation frequency. So having the very end of the barrel right here of the gold white light of source creation alignment obviously is pretty cool for the implication of having literally the gold white light source emanation being the excessive end of the line focus of this energy broadcast, which indeed does make feel the broadcast much like a flashlight of gold white light. Then, to of course make it even spicier, with this clear quartz back here, and just like the primary blade band component right here of Libyan gold tektite in a perpetual closed loop circuit, as well as the excessive blade facing of Libyan gold tektite, is even crazier now with carved, terminated Libyan gold tektite right here as a secondary focalizer. So you can think of the focalizer that's adhered to the primary blade band right here being the 8 down here. Then the clear quartz behind here is a neutral amplifier that goes into the, once again, double terminated carved Libyan gold tektite, which is just very obscenely opulent, obviously, and over the top, which is the prerogatives of this device to be a great exhibition of metaphysical excellence, if you would, for the recipient. And so, that brings a secondary focused engagement of the same frequency of gold white light emanation of pharaohic utilization of high magic as the secondary barrel that will of course run in tandem with the focalizer quartz to bring a more intensive, very high yield gold light emanation as a secondary part of the broadcast, which is very over the top, even by my standards, and this is literally my life's work. But there you have it. That wow. So So that would be the entirety of this construct actually notarized in a very succinct, swift fashion that literally is under an hour, thank goodness. So the big summary also, and the gold white light leather here, of course, is just like mentioned a long time ago at this point, is a gold ray, white ray energy condenser insulation to condense the hand bands running under here and focus the energy through a color therapy resonance of gold white light. Basically, that's his prerogative as design and its directive of its intentional construction. So, this obviously, like mentioned a long time ago, is a rather exotic variation, which would be a lightblade wand platform, obviously, but it's a very, very vivid, exciting, high-yield construct that is very ambitious, to put it lightly, that is designed primarily with everything in between to be a very dramatic, full light body stimulant from top to bottom, obviously with many different subroutines at this point in a perpetual closed-loop circuit, as well as an extremely powerful gold white light source emanation is perhaps the ultimate prerogative of this device to be an extreme focus of the golden ray of manifestation in tandem with that of the emanations of the heart of creation, which essentially would be a tremendous dharmic accelerant on a stick, quite simply, would be the bottom line prerogative, and is a very vibrant, intensive, diverse, opulent, exotic device that doesn't roll out every day, because obviously this thing is this wonderful celestial sovereign construct is rather ambitious and very exotic. And yeah, platforms like this are not born every day, to say the least, and probably for a good reason. That's actually, of course, what brings excitement to my life's work, I suppose. And now I'm just ranting. So, on that note, I pray that everybody has a fantastic Sunday. When this was filmed, it was a Sunday. And 1,000 blessings, and may the force be with us all.